I never imagined a front door could nearly ruin my life. But one morning, I found myself holding a letter from the HOA accusing me of disrupting aesthetic harmony with my navy blue door. Attached was a grainy photograph of my own house taken by my neighbor, Carol Peterson. That was the moment I realized I wasn't living in a quiet suburban street anymore. I was in the middle of a war, and the enemy was armed with a camera, a notebook, and the full weight of the Homeowners Association. My name's Leo. I work from home, and all I wanted was peace. I bought this house because it was aggressively neutral. Beige siding, gray roof, a place where no one should ever care enough to bother me. But Carol, she was different. Mid-50s, always in beige yoga pants, she never used for yoga hair sprayed into a helmet that defied weather and reason. And she had this obsession with my house. At first I thought I was imagining it, her quick snaps with her phone, little furtive glances. But then it escalated. She stood right on the sidewalk, notebook in hand, taking shot after shot of my siding, my bushes, my door, like she was documenting a crime scene. I tried to laugh it off. Then I saw her again walking her trembling little dog, Princess Fufu. I asked as politely as I could, "Hey Carol, everything okay? You've been taking a lot of pictures of my place." She didn't even blink. "I'm documenting violations for the HOA," she said in the same tone you'd use to recite scripture. "Your lawn is a 1/4 inch too high. Section 8, paragraph C. And your front door color is unapproved, too vibrant." My door, navy blue, the color I'd agonized over for a whole weekend, now labeled a threat to community order. I looked at the Hendersons' broken pink flamingo down the street and thought, really, that's fine, but my door is a menace. Carol walked away, tugging her dog, leaving me standing there with my trash bin, humiliated and boiling. A week later, the official letter came. Cream-colored envelope, HOA logo stamped on top, the kind that makes your stomach sink before you even open it. Unapproved chromatic alteration to the primary entryway. A crime, apparently. Carol's blurry photo was stapled at the bottom proof of my sins. I sat on my porch steps, letter trembling in my hand, wondering how the hell I'd become public enemy #1 for daring to paint a door navy blue. I tried reasoning first. I wrote a careful email to the HOA board explaining that Gentleman's Evening, yes, that was the actual paint name, was a respectable muted tone. I even attached a photo of George Washington's front door, dark green, tasteful, historic. Their reply, one line: "Please refer to Appendix F of your welcome packet." Appendix F was 3 swatches of beige, oatmeal sandstone taupe. That was it. That was their entire vision for life. My soul shriveled just looking at them, so I tried petty tactics. I timed my sprinklers to go off when Carol walked by, misting her beige capris. I planted a bush right in her line of sight, spent a Saturday digging a hole just to block her photos. 3 days later, she moved 3 feet to the left and kept snapping. I even posed dramatically when she raised her phone, shouting, "Get my good side, Carol." She didn't flinch. She just scribbled in her notebook like a scientist logging data on a rat. And I was the rat. I vented to my buddy Mark on the phone. "He lives downtown, no HOA, free as a bird. Just ignore her, man," he said. "She'll get bored." But he didn't understand. This woman had the focus of a hawk and the free time of a retired god. I was suffocating in beige tyranny. There was a night I almost gave up. I sat at my desk staring at that stupid letter, thinking maybe I should just paint the damn door beige, blend in, disappear. Maybe it's not worth it. My house, my peace, my sanity, was I the one being unreasonable? For a moment, I honestly doubted myself. And then at 2 a.m, scrolling the internet half delirious, I stumbled onto a photo of Funhouse mirrors. Distorted faces, giant heads, noodle bodies. Something in me lit up. If Carol wanted photos, then fine, she could have photos. Photos of herself twisted into absurd shapes, useless as evidence. That night the war turned. Finding someone to make this insanity real wasn't easy. Most contractors hung up the moment I said Funhouse mirrors. But then I found Gus's gutter and glass. Gus himself answered, voice like gravel soaked in whiskey. When I explained the idea, there was a long silence. then a rusty chuckle. "Kid, what did your neighbor do to you? I told him everything." He laughed harder. "All right. This is the dumbest, most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I'll take a look." 2 days later, Gus rolled up in a rust-red truck that looked older than the neighborhood. Out stepped this burly guy in a flannel shirt beard like a legend tool belt, heavy with history. He studied my porch, squinted, and finally grunted. "Lay it on me." I showed him my sketches. Wavy mirror here, convex bobblehead mirror under the windows, concave spaghetti mirror right by the door. He nodded slowly like I was pitching him a serious architectural project. The spaghetti effect. Classic. Aggressive. I like it. A week later, the panels were ready. The installation was a spectacle. Gus and his apprentice hauled huge mirrored panels onto my lawn neighbor's gathering like it was a parade. Mrs. Gable, the sweet old lady next door, stood frozen with her watering can. Even Mr. Henderson, the HOA president, stopped power walking just to glare. I played it cool, handing out coffee and donuts like this was perfectly normal. Gus drilled, bolted, muttered about wind resistance. Hours later, my porch was transformed into a shimmering, distorted wonderland. Light bounced off the warped glass, twisting everything in sight. It looked insane. It looked perfect. Then came the test. I set up my phone on the windowsill, recording. At 4:15, right on schedule, Carol appeared. She raised her phone and froze. Her smug face melted into pure confusion as the mirrors reflected her into a nightmare funhouse. Her hair swirled like a cyclone, her body warped like taffy, then shrank into a bobblehead with T-Rex arms. She stumbled back, staring at her own freakish image, until finally she let out a frustrated shriek loud enough for me to hear inside. Then she stormed away, defeated, her notebook useless. I collapsed against the wall, laughing harder than I had in months. Victory had never looked so ridiculous. For 2 days I lived in bliss. No patrols, no photos, Carol scurrying to her car without even looking at me. But on the third day, a black and white police cruiser rolled up. My heart plummeted. 2 officers got out. One older mustache, weary eyes, the other younger, crisp uniform, eager. "We got a complaint," the older one said, gesturing at my porch. The younger flipped open his notepad. Allegation of emotional distress caused by aggressive, reflective surfaces. I almost burst out laughing. The older officer sighed. "It's mirrors. We can't write tickets for the sun." He leaned closer. "We get a call from Miss Peterson every week. Last time it was wind chimes." "You're fine." Relief crashed over me. Round 2, Leo. But Carol wasn't done. The next evening, Mr. Henderson himself showed up clutching a letter like it was toxic. "Emergency HOA meeting this Saturday," he said stiffly. Carol had canvassed signatures. I tore open the envelope, cease and desist, citing vague bylaws about public alarm and mockery. They actually wrote the word mockery. And then I saw it online. Carol's Facebook rant photos of her distorted face plastered with captions calling my porch a monstrosity. But something unexpected happened. Neighbors started commenting. Some mocked me, sure, but others laughed at her. Kids called it the magic porch. Even Mrs. Gable chimed in. "It's whimsical. Maybe Carol needs a hobby." That comment got 50 likes. For the first time, I wasn't alone. Saturday arrived. The community center smelled like burnt coffee and resignation. It was packed. Carol sat in front, a massive binder labeled Exhibits 124 Oak Street. Henderson banged the gavel. Carol went first. She had a PowerPoint, of course she did. Slide after slide of her own distorted face, ranting about chaos, danger, property values. She ended dramatically, begging the board to make me tear it down. Her supporters clapped. Then it was my turn. I walked to the front, folder in hand, heart pounding. "Good evening," I began. "Yes, I have Funhouse mirrors on my porch. And no, I'm not apologizing for them." Gasps. I'm a quiet guy. I just wanted to be left alone. But for months, one neighbor turned my private property into her personal photo project. She reported me for the color of my door for nothing more than her own obsession. These mirrors. They're not permanent structures. They don't make noise. They don't block anyone. They just reflect. And the only person they bother is the one standing out there day after day taking pictures of my house. I handed the board Gus's notarized statement, structurally sound, safe, removable. Henderson frowned, flipping through the bylaws. Then, like a scene from a movie, Mrs. Gable stood up. "He's right," she said, her voice steady. "Carol, dear, you've been pestering everyone for years. That boy's porch is harmless. It's fun. My grandkids love it. Stanley would have loved it." The room shifted. Other neighbors joined in, tired of the beige police. The board huddled. Finally, Henderson spoke. By a vote of 2-1, the motion fails. The mirrors stay. Applause broke out. I grinned, adrenaline surging. I looked at Carol. Her face was stone, her binder useless in her lap. She had lost. And for once it wasn't just me who beat her, it was everyone she'd alienated. That was the last time Carol ever pointed her phone at my house. When I saw her later walking Princess Fufu, she crossed the street, eyes fixed on the horizon. No glare, no notebook, no photos, just silence. In the language of suburbia, that silence was surrender. And I learned something sometimes. Fences don't make good neighbors. Sometimes it takes a mirror.